Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With you, Khalid Saleh, the president of the media office at the Syrian Coalition. Thank you for attending our daily briefing for today, Friday, the 27th of December 2013. Assad's foreign minister said that fighting terrorism is a priority in the Geneva conference. We want to remind everybody that the main reason the Geneva conference is going to take place is to form a transitional governing body with full executive powers, including powers over military and security. The TGB, the Transitional Governing Body, will have full presidential, legislative, and executive powers. The only way for Syria to get rid of the most dangerous types of terrorism in the world is by establishing that transitional governing body. And only then, after we get rid of Assad, the Assad regime and its mercenaries, after the transition of power and its transfer from the hands of the tyrannical system that we have in Syria, Syrian people will deal with any type of terrorism that's there in the country. We must not forget that the London 11 senior officials meeting that took place in London on December 13th, 2013 made it very clear that Assad will have no role in Syria, as his regime is the main source of terror and extremism in Syria. The EU has already designated that the military wing of Hezbollah militias fighting alongside the Assad regime designated them as a terrorist organization. These militias, whether the Hezbollah militias or the militias, foreign militias coming from Iran, Iraq, other militias coming from Lebanon, enjoy the political and logistical support from the regime and its allies, and that is the only way they are able to terrorize Syrian people. That is the only way they are able to commit crimes against Syrians. Syrian people will continue to fight terrorism represented by the regime and by the militias backing the regime, as they have been doing for the past 2.5 years. This regime is terrorizing people. This regime, and this is the second point that we have today, there is a report that was issued by Reuters, found that the Assad regime excluded the province of Deir ez-Zor from the vaccination against polio. This vaccination, the regime had allowed to be used in other provinces. However, in 2012, the regime decided not to allow the polio vaccination to be used in Deir ez-Zor. As a result, doctors, health professionals said that the fact that that province had missed out on the vaccination caused the re-emergence of polio there, and then the spread of polio in other areas in Syria. The humanitarian situation in Syria is deteriorating, continues to deteriorate due to the acts of the regime, due to the fact that the Assad regime continues to shell civilian areas, continues to use barrels against civilian areas, use chemical weapons against civilians, is blocking food, blocking medicine, and it's really the main source, the main contributor of terrorism against Syrian people. One of the worst regimes that the international community or the world has seen in the last century. Finally, there is a deal to drill for oil and gas in Syria, where the Assad regime swapped Syrian natural resources for Russian weapons which are used to kill Syrian people. There is no doubt that the Russian government has given the green light for the Russian oil and gas company to sign that deal with the Syrian government. This deal is one of the most important energy contracts in the region, and we're sure that this deal was signed in order for the Assad regime to be able to secure payments for the weapons delivered to the Assad regime. This regime is responsible for terrorism. This regime kills its own people. This regime must be held responsible for all the crimes it's committing. More importantly, the international community needs to think about those who are backing the regime, supporting its ongoing massacres against the Syrian people. The Russian government, which is supposed to be one of the sponsors of the Geneva conference, is not acting in good faith. It is not working to ensure the success of the conference. This is not going to help the Syrian coalition take the decision of going to Geneva very, very lightly. We're not seeing good signs neither from the regime nor its allies.